Hello, my brothers and sisters. It's Josh Packard. Hey, I want to introduce you to my daughter Abby and my sweetheart here, the one I love with everything. She's amazing, and anyway, I love her, and I love my whole family, and I'm so blessed by God, and I thank Him every day for my family. It's not easy. Raising a family is hard. Being married is hard. Trust me, but it's worth every second and every bit of sacrifice. But today, the reason I'm talking with you is because I want to bring some words back into our consciousness, and bring back the meaning and the severity, and bring back the alarm that should be going off inside of us all right now. That's not, and it's some of us. But it should be everybody, and this should be every Christian right now. This alarm should be going off, and you feel it, and I'm not sure that you know what you feel. And I'm going to put a word to that feeling for you today in order to bring you into it, so that you can see what, like Patrick Henry said, was it Patrick Henry, I hope, that said, "Give me liberty or give me death." And this passion for the word that he had, and this wasn't just a vestigial statement that he made. It was a statement that he wanted to live by, and he came from a place where he was under a dictatorial rule, to where if he spoke out against the king, they would kill him. And it's like, man, could you imagine living under that every day and desiring to have the freedom to think and to speak, which is called liberty, by the way, because we're free in every way, which matters right now. And liberty is the word that we need to reassociate, so that we can see the dire need that we have for it and how it's being attacked. And we're in the late stages of its attack, not just the early stages. So I want you guys to see you're about ready to have it taken away if we don't stand up and we don't come to the reality of it. But I think a lot of this will do just by coming to the knowledge of it and understanding the word and its importance in our lives. So there's a couple of them I want to bring back to the forefront of your conscience. And hopefully we can get to the place where we're willing to die and sacrifice ourselves for these words, because without these words, life is meaningless. It's just an empty pile that every breath you take is just a clock on your time. You're doing time here on this earth until you die. So the first word I want to talk to you today about is virtue. And virtue used to be something that people held in high regard. There used to be classes on it. People used to spend their lives contemplating it because of its value, but we don't think of virtue anymore. And virtue is basically wholesomeness or integrity, being incorruptibility, shall we say. And think about like a hull of a ship. The ship can stay afloat as long as it's in integrity. As long as there's no holes in it, and as long as it's not corrupted, it stays afloat. And think about this with your soul and your conscience, that we need to bring that into integrity. Now, the vehicle by which we do that is the Word of God, and there is no other way, because He shows us the path to truth and integrity, which the truth produces integrity, shall we say. But we need to get back into this idea. Can I set you down, honey? Can I set you down for a minute? Okay. We need to get in this idea that these things are the most important things in life right now, because they are. So the next thing is that we need liberty. And liberty is a word that we've all lost the meaning of. And it's been eroding from us, and it's eroding from us. It's been eroding from us, and we feel it, but we just haven't been able to put a word to our feeling anymore, identify what it was, because we've kind of lost it. And I think it's concerted effort, because even those who would know better aren't even speaking about this word accurately. So liberty is the idea that you can think and speak as you saw fit. And in that time, in the time of our founding fathers, if they could be killed for meeting together in order to do what they did in order to free us from the tyranny of oppression. And so today we're seeing this coming up more and more and more. We start seeing the liberal progressives. We see them completely silencing anyone that's their opinion through threats, through dogma, through dismissal, through labeling, through all they do. There's no argument. There's no even talk of virtue. It's all about their freedom. I mean, Jeff Goldblum in one of the Jurassic Park said this a statement a long time ago, and it rings true. It says that you've been so caught up that you were able to do something that you never thought of whether or not you should do something. So anyways, that's what's going on today with all these liberals and people who are godless, is they're relishing in their freedom to do whatever they want, not realizing and thinking whether or not they should. And so they're falling into corruption, they've lost their integrity, and they've lost their liberty. Well, what happens is it's too bad that misery loves company, because now they're trying to take our liberty. Because if we're right, then that means everything they stand for is wrong, and they've been duped, and they don't, rather than admit that, they'd rather us be put in the prison with them. So we really need to be focusing on this today and for the next generation, because liberty is being eroded from us. We're only getting information from one side. I mean, you look at all the Fox News outlets. Fox just got bought by Disney, so everything they're talking about now is all with a political slant to progressivism. If you speak out anything against what their agenda is, you'll be deleted, or you'll be dismissed, or you'll be fired. It's all coming down to one point of view. And it's always been this way. It's always wanted to come this way. The world is always trying to fight to get itself back under the rule of one authoritarianism, or one authoritarian, because power wants to pool into one man. And the scriptures talk about this one man and how this is all going to end up in his hands at some point. So the safest way and the most protection we have is the more people that have power, the better, because the more people that have the power, it means the closer you are to the power and influencing that power. But as it stands, power is being brought into the hands of a few that we are not going to be able to influence, and they're going to start dictating their values, which they are already upon us, and we're swallowing them because we're not hearing the opposing argument. So liberty is something that produces integrity in you. So without liberty, without the ability to think and express and to be able to talk about your ideas, then you're being stifled from the truth. And the truth is what is found by groping around and challenging thought and thinking and expressing and coming this way. Well, that truth produces the integrity, and the only truth there is Christ and Him crucified. So the Lord and His truth and the Word of God giving us the way to live our lives, this is the truth. This is the way to go, and this is the way to liberty and integrity. And without it, we're going to be subject to the rest of the world. Because if you notice that everywhere that before it can become communist or socialist, they have to get rid of religion. They have to get rid of Christianity, because Christianity stands directly opposed to authoritarian dictatorship. But look at our churches today. Our churches do the same thing the liberals do, and they've been doing it for a very long time. They're institutionalized as well. So all of our pastors and stuff, they've just been to college. They went to college. They went to seminary, for the most part. Some of them were born again later on, I guess. Born again. I mean, according to their thinking. But the thing is that in order to get your pastoral, you have to swallow the doctrine and agree to following it. So you're either Wesleyan, Arminian, Calvinism, Lutheran. You're some sort of doctrine according to some sort of ideology that you have to swear allegiance to before you can be a pastor in that denomination. Do you guys see how stupid that is? So the largest part of Christianity is all institutionalized. They never had real jobs. They never had to live in the real world. They've been insulated and protected from everything outside. Look at the people. Look at the progressive liberals we have today. They're all completely just indoctrinated. They've only been ever to school, or they were raised by rich parents or whatever it was, but they've never ever touched foot in the world. So they're legislating and dictating things according to ideology rather than actual practical experience. Same thing with the church system. So they espouse the doctrines they've been taught. They've been brainwashed into. The same thing as the church as progressive liberals. You keep going down this ideology, you keep going down, let's see, where do they get their support? Oh, they're supported by other people, not themselves. So they're dependent upon those whom support them. So they have to pander to the wants of the masses rather than the truth. So you just keep going down the list of all all these similarities between progressive liberalism and the church right now. Because the church, they will demonize you. They'll completely label you so they don't have to think or challenge their doctrine. They've got it all figured out, according to them. But they don't want to challenge. They don't want to think about it. They're outside of liberty. Instead of instilling liberty, they just keep handing them over to corruption, not realizing it, not intending it, because they really think, because they're good intentions, just like the progressive liberals, they think because they're doing good, they're justified in what they do, in silencing opposition, stifling speech, stifling questions, stifling all this stuff, because they're so firmly committed into their religion that they can't take any rebuttal. And it's the same thing when you get to the church system right now. They're so firmly convicted in their ideas, and because they have to be in order to keep their congressional license or whatever they're going to be or do. So anyway, where do you go to find somebody who has an example of liberty or integrity or, virtue or any of these words that we've forgotten the meaning of, that we need to reclaim now? That we need to subject ourselves to the things that are virtuous, not just abandoning ourselves to the reckless pursuit of freedom. Because liberty is more important than freedom. You can have liberty in prison, but you can't have freedom without liberty. Sorry, because you're still in a prison in your mind. You're still subject to your lusts. The dominion of sin still owns you. You're a slave to it. You're a slave of sin. You're a slave of people's opinions. You're slaves of the imagination of those above you. You're just a slave. When I look at people every day just not willing to consider the opposition, not willing to even, and I'm guilty of it too, because it's sometimes some things are so ridiculous that you just don't even, you're just like, God, but all of us, we really need to take, all of us Christians especially, we needed to get back to the scriptures and find out what God is really doing on this earth, what he's really trying to overcome, what he's really trying to help us avoid and help us to save us from while we live. Because we've been saved eternally. That's done and done. We don't have to worry about that. But now it's living between here and there. So I'm here to tell you right now, your liberty is almost gone. Your integrity has been taken a long time ago, and you just didn't realize it because everyone else's is too. So it's time to fight and claw back and bring that integrity back and that truth and that liberty back into preeminence at whatever cost. Because I would rather every person think I'm a kook. I'd rather every person call me a cult leader and a liar and completely turn on me and still have my Lord and be able to speak with him and share with him and to have my Jesus and my children to have Jesus and my wife to have Jesus, because Jesus is more important and more precious than anything in this earth. And I mean by far. This wholesomeness and this integrity, the feeling of integrity is the most important thing that you can have. This wholesomeness, this wholeness, this satisfaction in your soul. It's worth everything. I mean, people spend their entire lives and all their perversions and all their money and everything they do is all committed in the attempt to find this satisfaction that we are given freely by Jesus. Right now. So, I don't care who you are. Without Jesus, you don't have liberty. You don't have integrity. Sorry. You're corrupted and you're controlled. It's just the way it is. You're under the dominion of someone else. You're a slave. So, anyway, let's fight to set each other free. Let's remind each other of these values. Let's remind each other of Jesus for the purpose of our communities, our families, our marriages, our children. I mean, we need to bring wholesomeness back, and integrity and liberty and the truth. Okay, my brothers and sisters, have a great day and ponder on these things. And if you can add to this argument, add to it. Send me something I can send out, or make a video yourself. I don't care. But let's stand together and let's fight this idea of this homogeny and this one world ideology of progressivism and crap. And this inclusivity, which brings upon us the wrath of God. It brings upon the curse of the law, because we are choosing to obey men over God. and to acknowledge and to include these people who are perverts, who are seeking to enslave us, to bring us into their prison so they don't have to think because they're lazy. All right, my brothers and sisters, have a wonderful day. Think on this and help me in this battle here. All right, you guys. Love you all. Good day.